Let's go now to Mark Leach, who's the CEO of Never Again Is Now. He joins me now from Sydney. Good to speak to you, Mark. That must have really shocked you last night, that the police, who allowed mayhem and threats and intimidation a year ago, stopped your group from going to the Opera House.
Well, Chris, thank you for having me on. And it's not just that they stopped our group, because we were very clear we weren't going to conduct a protest at the Opera House. Simply, a number of Jewish people who are still deeply, deeply affected by the events of both October 7 and the surging anti-Semitism of which October the 9th was just a foretaste in this country. Groups of them wanted to walk as private citizens to the Opera House, take some photos, have a moment of reflection, and they were turned away. I think because the police have learned their lesson of last year and were absolutely terrified that the situation might get out of control. Little did they know that this was actually they did know this was a group of Christians and Jews. We'd finished our formal event, mostly older folk who just wanted a private moment to grieve and to stand in this iconic place in Australia.
Well, I've got to say that as an Australian, I think a lot of us would have been pleased to have seen pictures of people there happily, peacefully flying the Israeli flag a year on from that ugly, intimidatory protest last year. It would have been like Australians reclaiming the Opera House for peace and humanity.
Well, yes, I agree with you entirely. That said, there are bylaws, and what we want is the police to enforce the law without fear or favour. So what I said to the group last night was, we will do the right thing. We won't attempt to cause a confrontation with the police, because as upset as we all are, as upset as the vast majority of Australians are, that our city streets are filled week in and week out with people supporting prescribed terror groups, waving the flags of Hezbollah, chanting genocidal chants, intimidating the Jews and the Christians and peace-loving Australians. As upset as we are about that, that doesn't give us the right to break the law.
No, you're right. You did the right thing, and good on you. But to tell you what, it's exposed to the rest of us in this country something we didn't know, and that is that there is a bylaw against protests on the Opera House. So therefore, the police had the authority to stop that ugly protest last year and chose not to.
Well, yes, that's actually still the big story. I was at the start of that protest when it was outside the town hall. I waved an Israeli flag there and was chased out of the square. But before that happened, I listened to the officer in charge on the day negotiating with the leader of the protest movement about how they were going to move down to the Opera House. So I think what last night did was rub salt in the wound of the massive stuff up that happened a year ago. And what the Jewish community needs is to know that they are safe, they are protected, they are valued, and they are treated equally as any other Australian is.
Yeah, well said, Mark, and good on you. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Mark Leach there, heads up Never Again Is Now, a Christian group supporting Jewish Australians and supporters of Israel.